Jeff Slauson here from 19 News Now at the 19 News Digital Desk. If you are one of the many people who has a problem with the speed cameras that have been popping up progressively over the last decade in the state of Ohio and essentially across the entire country, you're not alone here in this. And one Ohio lawmaker is hoping to make some restrictions on it that would lead to more accountability between the state and the ones that are producing and maintaining these cameras. It would still allow for different cities to make the same amount of money that they did. However, it would lead to more accountability to ensure that these cameras are doing what they're supposed to be doing. I spoke with Representative Tom Patton, who proposed this bill earlier today, and we broke down every single aspect of it. It's a great interview. We'll have you tune in now. Representative, if you don't mind here, just to kind of start off by explaining House Bill 416, I guess the elevator pitch of what exactly it is.
Yeah, well, number one, we always want people to maintain all the speed limits and to drive safely. However, it's come to my attention, we have an industry, a cottage industry of, dozens and dozens of towns and cities that have these speed cameras. And on average, about 40% of the revenue is leaving Ohio, going to these camera companies. They're in Germany, they're in Australia, they're one of the bigger ones in Australia, but at minimum, they're leaving the state of Ohio. And we have no idea who they are. We have no idea, how efficient, how effective the equipment is. So like anything else in Ohio, we think that what we need to do is to license them. If you're going to do business in Ohio, everything else you got to get licensed for. So we're going to charge a licensing fee. We want to have them calibrated once a month to make sure if it says 63, it's really not 57, and then we're going to charge an 8% tax on these people for all these millions of dollars they're taking out of the state of Ohio. And we're going to use that money for public safety, especially in the area of the health and wellness of our police and fire who suffer PTSD more often than the average person because they see horrible things. The average person sees 1 to 3 traumatic things in a lifetime. Our first responders see an average of 7 in a month. And so, and more tragically, more first responders commit suicide than die in the line of duty. So this is one of the ways we're going to try to use this public safety measure. All these cities say it's all about safety. Well, the cities are still going to get their 60%. They shouldn't complain. It's these companies, like I said, out of state, and in many cases out of country, overseas, that we're sending all these millions of dollars to, and nobody's held them accountable. We don't know how accurate the equipment is. And so that's the elevator pitch on what the bill is.
You mentioned fees here. What would those look like for some of these companies? How much would they have to pay the state? Would it be yearly?
8% of their gross revenues in the course of a year's time, yeah. So hopefully they'll be paying it on a monthly basis. That'll be set up through the tax department and public safety. The Department of Commerce will run the program. The Office of Public Safety will handle the revenues that come in on the 8% towards the health and welfare of the first responders.
I like the point that you brought up when you said if this really is about safety, this is the time to kind of, I guess, prove it or show it there, because, yeah, the argument to have these in place is that it's not necessarily been about money, it's been about the safety. For many people, they seem to question that here. Are you hoping that this then allows people to kind of at least alleviate some of their concerns to show that the state is at least in some way able to monitor what's going on?
I absolutely, it actually was recommended to me because I usually come up with other camera bills in the past I've tried, and the local governments fund, the municipalities fight it, their home rule, and I respect that, but you have a town of 150 people that writes, thousands of tickets, and as I say, the other thing that's in the bill is that instead of 30 days later, which is about the approximate time these people receiving the ticket a month after they allegedly sped through a speed camera, we're asking them to get the tickets out in 72 hours. Let the people know so they can remember what they were, who they were, where they were going, but again, I think the accuracy of it, we've had people that have gotten speed camera tickets in the mail That's not their car, not their license plate, but it ends up at their name and address for the fine. And then it's on them to try to correct the problem and try to get a speed camera ticket, someone to listen to you. There was actually one little town that was charging $100 if you wanted to come and try to fight it. We eventually got that taken away and they stopped doing it. I saw that in December, the Garfield Heights Court sent out 49,000 Dunny letters to people who did not pay their tickets in Newburgh Heights. Well, I'm trying to think that town of less than 3,000 people, 49,000 tickets of people who didn't pay. How many people did pay? Probably 10 times that many. I mean, so, it just gets to a point where it's, it's somewhat insidious because all these people that do it, it's a cash grab. And it's, in my opinion, a cash grab. Nothing to do with safety. Again, I want people to follow the speed limits. I want a police car on the side of the road, pull them over, write them a ticket if they're drunk and if they're, inebriated, get them off the road. That's safety. Send them a ticket 30 days later in the mail. Doesn't do anything to protect my drivers in Ohio.
Yeah, it takes the element of a potential error in the system out because if, as you said, if somebody gets a ticket that they weren't even on that road for, that creates a whole world of hurt for them. As far as accountability goes, what would the state be able to do with this calibrated basically through the state to hold these companies accountable and to make sure that everything's going the way it should be?
Well, as I say, we're going to charge the camera companies $5,000 a month so that a person with the Department of Commerce with the right equipment can go out there and give it a full calibration, make sure it's accurate, not just once a year or once every 2 years, if ever, because right now we don't know of anybody that has any type of a calibration program. The state will insist that these things are accurate at minimum, and we'll make sure that we know who has them. We're going to make sure we know how much money that they're collecting, and as I say, when you think about it, tens of millions of dollars are leaving the state of Ohio, and these locals that are having it, yeah, they're getting their 60%, but for basically sitting back and collecting the checks. The camera companies put up the cameras, enforce the cameras, send out the tickets, collect the money from the tickets, and send the city their share. I think that's how it works, and if it doesn't, if people want to go to a local court and fight it, again, it's arduous at best, but right now it's the wild, wild west. We don't know what's going on. This is time that we hold those local communities, make sure they're dealing with good actors. They're dealing with, if there is such a thing as a good camera company, let's make sure we separate the good from the bad. Some of these camera companies were like, well, if we say it's 67 instead of 62, we can get, now they're speeding. Again, I'm not casting aspersions on anybody. This is a program that we got to get control of. We got to find out as a state, we have to protect the people that drive in the cars. That they're going to get a ticket, they deserve to get the ticket, and they actually were speeding. But once again, I'm not a fan of the speed cameras. I much prefer to have law enforcement on the side of the road. The Highway Patrol does a great job. The local cities can go out there and do a good job and write these tickets. And more importantly, when you have a police car on the highway, if there's an accident or somebody gets to pull over because there's a car problem, could be a mom with 3 kids in the car. Policeman's just down the road. He can go find out and assist, these people with a broken down car or a problem, or if someone's having a health issue, they're right there. A camera can't do any of that. They can't help the mom with 3 kids and the car ran out of gas or the car's, overheated. Someone's having chest pains. They can't help. That's why, as I say, I'm totally pro law enforcement. Totally. We're just not pro cameras. And we have to get a handle on what's going on here.
So that would be $5,000 per camera per month. Is that right?
Yes, to have it calibrated. Yes, sir.
And the company would pay that, not the municipality.
Yes, sir. Yes.
The last question I have for you, what would you say to any municipalities, any mayors, anybody, whoever, who would say that this is just going to discourage these companies from doing their business in the state of Ohio and thus potentially making things less safe?
Well, I think they should trust the fact that the companies they're dealing with are also as honorable as they assume they are, And if they want to leave Ohio because it's going to the cost of doing business in Ohio, I doubt that when they're taking millions away, anything we throw at them, as far as the license fee and the calibration fee, and even the 8% tax on their receipts, is going to chase them away. This is an industry that boggles your mind when you figure out just how much money is leaving the state of Ohio and leaving the pocketbooks of the people in Ohio. They might have a good reason for speeding. They might be taking their wife to the hospital to have a baby. They might have a kid that cut his arm and they're trying to get into the ER. A policeman would know that and help them get there. Camera company's just going to zap them with the ticket. They can't tell. And then 30 days later, when you get the ticket, 30 days later, when you finally get the ticket, you know, who do you explain? Well, I had a pregnant woman in the car. My wife gave birth 8 hours later. That's not going to count towards anything.
Yeah, that change from 30 days to 72 hours to me I don't remember where I was driving 30 days ago. I can remember where I was driving 72 hours ago. That seems huge. You answered all my questions here. Is there anything that we touched on that we should have? Or
no,
we didn't touch on that we should have?
No, I appreciate your interest in the bill and the story. We're hoping that we can get some pretty quick movement on it down in Columbus, because this has gone on far too long, and we have to hold these people accountable.
You think it's going to pass?
I have a good feeling about it, because what's held it up in the past, all the other camera bills, are the municipal league. Those are the people that are the cities, townships, villages, and they say, don't tell us what we can do. And you can still use the cameras, but the camera companies have to be licensed, and the calibrations have to be done. And so they're still going to get, they're saying that they're getting now, not costing them a nickel. So they won't be as upset about this bill as they have some of the other bills that I've done, you know. But it's just, again, we want our people to drive safely. We want them to obey the speed limits. We just think this camera companies are just, you know, they're unaccountable, and we have to hold them accountable.
So this was only submitted into the House. We don't know what committees it'll be brought to. We do not know potentially when a vote could be happening. However, you heard the confidence there that he feels like this could be done, because, yeah, all this does is essentially ensure for many that they're either going to be ticketed when they should or not ticketed when they shouldn't. And that's a very important distinction. All right, that is all for this story here. Of course, coming up in 9 minutes, we have 19 News at 7 o'clock over on the CW. And then, of course, following that at 7:30, First Alert Focus, the Cleveland's only weather show. Your most accurate forecast brought down with you and explained all the science behind it, everything. 7:30 over on the CW. All right, that's it for your coverage here on all of our digital platforms. Of course, 19 News, like I said, 7 o'clock. We have an hour worth coming your way in about 9 minutes over on the CW.
19 News, now streaming on Samsung Smart TV. Search for channel 1035.